I'm not saying the Canes are back, but the Canes are on their way back.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Victory Sunday. I'm Alex Donno, your host, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. So the Hurricanes, who were underdogs at home, going up against the 23rd ranked team in the country, Miami gets it done. And they fought through adversity that entire game to beat the Texas A&M Aggies, to beat Jimbo Fisher, to beat Bobby Petrino. 48-33, the Hurricanes win. And folks, we all saw how that game started. We all saw all the sloppiness and the mistakes in the first quarter. If this had been last year's Miami team out there, starting the game the way that they did, they would have gotten steamrolled. This year's team ain't last year's team, and thank goodness for that. Restrepo had a big drop on third down on Miami's first possession. Your punt gets blocked. A&M scores on their opening drive that started at your 15-yard line. Later, Jacolby George muffed a punt. We were having deja vu to last year when Tyreek Stevenson muffed a punt against A&M. Jacolby's mistake served A&M right up around Miami's 9-yard line. They punched that in to go up 17-7. Hurricanes also had some drive-killing penalties on offense, drive-extending penalties on defense. The Canes were penalized 10 times for 115 yards. The Miami of last year would absolutely not have come back, overcome that stuff, and won this game. But folks, some of those names that I mentioned, guys who had mistakes and errors in this game, special teams, Jacolby George, Restrepo, the way that they responded was nothing short of incredible. Restrepo, who had that tough start to the game. Remember, X didn't play against Texas A&M last year, played this year, and he played great. Restrepo ends up finishing the game with 6 catches for 126 yards. I especially love the sideline catch that he made late in the second quarter to set up Miami's go-ahead touchdown. Tremendous hands, tremendous foot placement, knew exactly where he was. And X was also breaking tackles all day. The yak was impressive. I mentioned the name Jacolby George. What a response for him. After muffing that punt early in the game, which that's the type of moment that can, that can really damage a player mentally for the rest of a game. He comes out, he scores 3 receiving touchdowns. Best game of his career in a Miami uniform. And yeah, the Hurricane special teams unit, who, had costly moments in the first half, the muff, also the blocked punt. In the second half, right after giving up a touchdown to Texas A&M, the Hurricanes take the next kickoff, 98 yards for 6, Brashard Smith. Brashard Smith takes the kickoff to the house. What a freaking response from the special teams unit, and what a moment for Brashard. That building got electric. Hard Rock I know you had all the national analysts, all the, college game day, all the national guys were like, well, they don't have any fans there. It's going to be all Texas A&M fans. No one's going to show up. They don't care about football in Miami. That building was pretty freaking electric when Brashard Smith took that ball to the house. And those weren't the Texas A&M fans screaming and going crazy when they gave up 6 points on that play. Those were the Miami fans, my friends. Isaiah Horton, what a catch for him. Remember, he didn't have the best game in the opener last week against Miami, Ohio. This week, he perfectly tracks a Tyler Van Dyke deep ball, made a tremendous move to get open, and he catches a 52-yard bomb for a touchdown. I was jumping up and down. I was so happy for Isaiah to make that catch. And every time Miami was down in the game, or every time Texas A&M answered and got a big touchdown or an important stop, and the Hurricanes needed to answer, they dug deep, they made plays, and Miami answered every single time. We will talk about what's different with these Miami Hurricanes, how this team was able to show pride in front of the home fans, show off a little bit for their recruits. We had a QB1. We're going to talk about TVD. QB1 had an incredible performance against Texas A&M. My friends, we are only getting started here on this episode of Locked On Canes. We'll talk about Tyler Van Dyke. We'll talk about Jaden Davis, Miami's defense. We will talk about Cam Kinchens because the news seems to be very positive, and thank the Lord for that because he suffered an injury late in the game. And we've got to talk about the work that was done by Miami's coordinators. My goodness, they had answers for everything thrown at them. So you want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on Locked On Canes. Oh, my friends, Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. It is time for your game changer of the week, brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. QB1, Tyler Van Dyke, 5 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, 21 for 30, 374 yards. TVD was the game changer of the week, and much like Tyler Van Dyke, Athletic Brewing has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. They make non-alcoholic beers that taste great with full flavor. They're well-crafted, just like a full-strength beer. They brew over 50 styles of craft non-alcoholic beer, including IPAs, Goldens, Sours, and so much more. They're constantly releasing limited edition experimental styles to add to their variety. So, folks, you want to go, if you're a new customer, first-time customer, go to athleticbrewing.com. You can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. Use our code LOCKEDON, and first-time customers will get 15% off your first order. That's code LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer, exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts, available free on YouTube. And if you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, join our exclusive SMS texting service through Subtext. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours. We were going crazy last night during the game. You can sign up completely free. Click the link in the show description below. Try it free for 14 days. If you like it, you can opt in after 2 weeks for $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of extra value on there. I give you guys recruiting scoops, practice updates, insights before the games kick off. We were obviously looking in the pregame warmups for Elijah Arroyo, who did not warm up and did not play. You guys got that scoop before anybody else if you're a member on our Subtext service. So click the link in the show description below to try it 2 weeks absolutely free, okay? All right, so Miami Hurricanes, I mentioned. You start the game. Last year's team starts the way that they did. Blocked punt, muffed punt. You're getting steamrolled in that game. So what's different about these Canes? First of all, we've got ourselves a real offensive line. They kept their quarterback protected. They gave Tyler Van Dyke time to make his reads and to make his biggest throws when he needed to make them most. Jalen Rivers, Javion Cohen, Matt Lee, Inez Cooper, and CeCe Mauinoa, they performed well against the most talented defensive line, most talented, I'm not saying the best, but against the most talented defensive line in the country. And I know that CeCe, the true freshman, he commits too many penalties. That's something he's cleaning up. But overall, job well freaking done by the young man. And he's only going to get better and better and better as the season goes on. So the offensive line, sensational. Tyler Van Dyke, our game changer of the week. He had an awesome game. And honestly, TVD is showing why not only is Shannon Dawson's offense the perfect O for him, he seems like a perfect quarterback to run that offense. And he answered some of the doubters this week. Because, yeah, Tyler Van Dyke, some of you are just career haters of Tyler Van Dyke. Others of you, not necessarily haters, but you were worried about his finger. Finger still taped up yesterday. Maybe he didn't have enough zip for you on his throws against Miami, Ohio. The zip looked pretty good to me against Texas A&M. Van Dyke, not only was he efficient going 21 for 30 for 374 yards, but he was hitting bombs down the field. He also got great yak at times from his wide receivers, but hit some deep shots as well. Tyler Van Dyke completed balls of 52 yards, 64 yards, 48 yards against a defensive secondary at A&M. Everyone was talking about them being way too talented for Miami to handle, and their pass rush is going to be in his face. Van Dyke is not going to have any time to throw, and even if he can throw, Josh DeBerry is going to have intercept. All I can remember Josh DeBerry doing yesterday was committing a pass interference penalty that hurt his team. And most importantly for Van Dyke, not only did he have 374 yards, 5 touchdowns, threw for nearly 70% in the game, 0 interceptions for TVD, 0 INTs to go with his 5 touchdown passes. That's quite a ratio, my friends. Elite numbers in a big game. The Tyler Van Dyke doubters, y'all can shut up now. Now, the man calling his plays, Shannon Dawson, breath of fresh air. We were kind of wondering after last week against Miami, Ohio, how much of the playbook did we see? Are they just going to try to run the ball, 60 times a game? Is he going to open up? Can he open it up? Will Mario let him open it up? Not only did Shannon Dawson open it up, but I thought the play designs and the play calls, specifically in the red zone, were so on point. And I like the way Dawson adapted, because I'm sure early in the game, had Miami's running game had more success, they would have stuck with it a little bit more. But he had to adapt because Texas A&M, they were ready to stop the run, right? They heard all the comments. They had the 129th ranked rush defense in college football last year. They didn't look that great rushing defense against New Mexico. So they were ready for Miami's running game. They weren't ready for Miami's passing game. So brilliant job by Dawson adapting to a bit more of it. You were still running to set up the pass later on, but the pass attack adapted throughout the game. And then I also thought Dawson, his play design and play calling in the red zone was superb. He was able to call 2 touchdown plays in the red zone where Miami receivers were able to basically walk into the end zone. I talked about that with former Miami Hurricanes quarterback Malik Rozier last night. We do the WQAM postgame show together, and Malik, he was as impressed with the red zone play calling as I was, because when you're up against a talented defense like that, and we saw it last year because Miami couldn't do anything in the red zone against A&M last season. That's one of the reasons why they lost the game in College Station. You get down there, everything is condensed. You're going up against a big talented defense. It's just so hard to create space in the red zone, and Shannon Dawson was able to do that and make that happen. Not only did the Hurricanes go 4 for 4 in red zone scoring, 3 out of those 4 were touchdowns. Only one of those was a field goal. And Dawson, when we talked to him at his press conference last Monday, he said last week, because Miami was against Miami, Ohio, 4 red zone trips, but they were 50-50, 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals. And Dawson said last week he wanted to get the touchdown percentage up. He wanted the touchdowns to be 70 to 80% on red zone trips. He got 75 yesterday. So I thought Dawson was excellent. And yes, of course, I mean, for as much credit as you give to the coordinator, the players need to actually execute it, right? TVD, Restrepo, Jacolby George, Colby Young, who we hadn't even talked about. It's crazy because Colby Young had a really, really good game, but since one of his teammates scored 3 touchdowns and he only scored 1, you don't talk as much about Colby. So Colby Young, Restrepo, Jacolby George, Isaiah Horton had the big catch. So your receivers were making plays. Your quarterback was dropping TV dimes all day long, and your offensive line was on point. And, the running game wasn't great. Miami rushed for 77 yards, so it wasn't maybe what we expected. But, we had some decent plays at times, Henry Parrish and A.J. Allen specifically. Mark Fletcher did leave the game injured and didn't come back, so I hope Fletch is okay because obviously, Miami's gonna need Fletcher moving forward. He had such a great Canes debut last week, so the players need to execute. But I thought their offensive coordinator put them in the right situations to succeed. We'll talk about the defense when we come back because great job by their coordinator, but also standout performances from some individuals, including a guy. I don't know how Oklahoma let this dude get away. Sometimes when players hit the transfer portal, you're thinking, well, maybe that guy's leaving because he wasn't good enough to keep playing where he was. A lot of these guys Miami got, Javion Cohen was a starter at Alabama. He looks fantastic in Miami. Matt Lee, starting center at UCF. And we got to talk about Jaden Davis. We got to talk about James Williams. And yeah, we have to talk about Cam Kinchens. So I feel like we could probably do a 6-hour episode today. Would you guys be cool? We're probably not going to go 6 hours, but I may put out like 10 episodes today. So we are only getting started, my friends. You want to keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. Oh, today is the day for FanDuel. Week 1, my friends. NFL season is on. Incredible offers you can get from FanDuel. That's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. What a deal. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. I got my Dolphins going around 4 o'clock today against the Chargers, so I'm excited. Kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. By the way, Miami covered last night. Hurricanes were, depending on when you locked it in, they were 4.5-point underdogs. Shortly before kickoff, they were only 3-point underdogs. So the money was clearly coming in on Miami. And the Sharps, you guys got it right. Because not only did the Hurricanes cover +3, they won the game by 15 points. So you covered pretty comfortably in that one, my friends. So, all right, let's talk about Lance Guidry, Miami's defensive coordinator. Take a bow, Lance. His defense, I was surprised that they didn't technically register any sacks on the stat sheet. That's kind of a misleading statistic here because Lance Guidry's defense against good offensive line and against what I was told all week long is an elite quarterback, they were able to put consistent pressure on Conner Weigman. Now, the reason why Weigman didn't technically get sacked was he does a really good job getting outside the pocket, buying some extra time with his legs. He's very mobile, but the Hurricanes made him uncomfortable. They put him under duress the entire game. Conner Weigman, to tell you what a good job Miami's defense did on him. This guy, former 5-star recruit coming out of high school, played a little bit last year, had a great game against New Mexico, and so A&M fans are talking about this guy like he can walk on water. Weigman came into the game yesterday with 0 career interceptions thrown. What happened? Miami picked him off twice. Cam Kinchens, more on him later. He had the first INT. Corey Couch had one late in the game for Weigman's second interception of his career and second of the game. And folks, you talk about the secondary. That was the secondary was really, I thought, the strength of Miami's defense when it came to the playmaking. And, I don't think it's a coincidence that Lance Guidry spends a lot of hands-on time with the secondary, especially the safeties. But boy, did a Miami Hurricanes cornerback have a great game. Do you think Oklahoma misses Jaden Davis just a little bit? Jaden Davis played like a man possessed. This young man, the way he hits at his size is amazing. This young man is 5'10", 181 pounds. But he hits you like he's James Williams' size, like he's 6'5", 230, right? Did you see that hit that Jaden Davis made behind the line of scrimmage to force that fumble that Cam Kinchens recovered? Davis came in like a heat-seeking missile. I thought he was Miami's best defensive player. Davis had 8 tackles, 6 solo tackles, a quarterback hit, a pass breakup, and that forced fumble that led to a Miami turnover. James Williams. James also had a really big game. Tackled hard, tackled well. The only thing I didn't like was the taunting. They got him a 15-yard penalty, which I'll be honest with you folks, I was at the stadium. I didn't see what he said or what that looked like because when they threw that flag, I was like, I didn't know where that came from. But then I was asking some friends who were watching the game on TV. They said James Williams taunting, bonehead play, whatever it was. So sounded like he was a little bit too amped out there, but he did some really, really good things on the field, man. He led Miami with 9 total tackles, had, I think, 5 solo tackles in the game, and he looked every bit like a former 5-star recruit on the field. James Williams had an awesome game. And overall with the defense, excellent performance. You don't usually praise a defense this much after they give up 33 points, but remember, Texas A&M, 2 of their touchdown drives started literally in the red zone. Miami's 15 at Miami's 9. So those were 2 of the touchdowns they scored. Miami's defense overall, few too many penalties. I could say the same for the offense, but too many penalties on the defense. Otherwise, they were absolutely rock solid today. So the Hurricanes, they started that game poorly. They fought back every time they needed to. They played with pride and they finished the game. So you ask me, what's different about these Miami Hurricanes from last year's Miami Hurricanes? These guys actually have pride and they have fight that I haven't seen from a Hurricanes team in at least a few years, guys. Maybe not since 2017 when my pal Malik Rozier was under center and they won 10 games that year. I'm so proud of the Miami Hurricanes today. Just so proud. Cam Kinchens, just want you to know I'm praying for you, and I'm so glad, and my heart is so warm to hear that things are trending up for Cam. So it was about 1:58 left in the game. Miami's All-American safety, who had played a hell of a game, had an interception, a fumble recovery, covering very well. He collides with two players. One was a teammate, the other was a Texas A&M player. And he was on the turf for a long time, was stretchered off the field, was actually airlifted to Ryder Trauma Center for overnight observation. And it was scary. And it was one of those moments where everybody is together on the field, locking hands, all the A&M players, all the Miami players are on the field. And you just remember in that moment that some things are bigger than football, and that the health and the well-being of this man are just bigger than the game of football right now. And I know I've had the blessing of obviously meeting Cam a few times, and also meeting Cam's father. Cam's father is a viewer of the show. And if you're watching us right now, I just want you to know we are praying for your family, and we love you, and God bless you. And I'm glad it sounds like Cam is okay, and I'm hoping for a speedy, full recovery. You guys may have seen, I saw it early this morning. You may have seen the photo of Cam in the hospital bed throwing up the U, that was everything. Like, that warmed my heart so much. And shortly after the game, when Mario Cristobal talked to the media, he said that what he was hearing was that things were looking relatively normal for Kinchens. So hopefully our prayers will all be answered and he's going to be doing fine. And yeah, for Mario Cristobal, this is his first signature win at Miami, a victory against a ranked opponent. I hope that W last night against the Aggies, I hope that can become this generation's version of what the win against UCLA in 1998 was with Edgerrin James. That was the start of Miami's turnaround before winning a national title a few years later. Okay? Last night's victory is a great sign that Mario Cristobal made the right coaching changes after getting his hires wrong in year one, that he made the corrections necessary. And I hope it's also a sign that all of the roster reconstruction is working. You talk about 40 new scholarship players on this team, and some of the new guys made huge plays. Jaden Davis, one of the best players on the field, just transferred over from Oklahoma. Not his first year, but Colby Young transferred in last year, so that's a Mario Cristobal guy. And two of your top offensive linemen were transfers who came in this year. And you know what? The quarterback who was here already, job well done yesterday. They're pushing the right buttons now with Tyler Van Dyke. So I had complained, and I think rightfully so, before the game, that the national media, the way that the national media covers the Miami Hurricanes compared to the way they covered Texas A&M, the national media is lazy, and in most cases, the national media is clueless. That if you want to actually get real information on your team, you go to places like this. You go to, places like the You Heard podcast. You go to places like Coach Hayes and Coach Coop if you want to learn about your team. Because the national media, outside of a select few, Josh Pate from 24/7 does an awesome job. He understands he didn't pick Miami to win, but he does understand Miami. There's a few people at the ACC network who actually follow Miami. Outside of that, most of the national media does not have a clue. All the talk was about, well, how much better is Texas A&M this year? And they got that genius Bobby Petrino calling the plays, and this Conner Weigman's a future Heisman winner. They'd studied Texas A&M. Nobody seemed to have a clue what's going on down in Miami, and nobody seemed to give Miami a prayer of a chance to win this game, okay? So hopefully now the national media actually takes notice. Hey, we're on high alert now. They beat a Texas A&M team that we thought was going to beat Miami easily. We got to start paying attention to what's happening down there in Coral Gables. Miami showed them this team is for real. This team is not to be ignored or underestimated. The U is on the way back. Oh, we're going to have a busy week on Locked On Canes. We do have to talk more recruiting on our next episode tomorrow morning because Booker Pickett Jr., 4-star edge rusher, was at the game visiting, and suddenly the crystal balls are flying in for Pickett to pick Miami. I know my guy Tavion Galloway, the 4-star tight end, said he had a really good time at the game. I hope LJ McCray had a really good time. I hope all the 2025s had a good time. We'll talk more about recruiting on our next episode. I want to thank you guys so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. If you listen to the audio version, you can get us, take us anywhere you go, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Odyssey app, and make sure to hit 5 stars if you can rate and review the show. But take us everywhere you go with the audio version, and we will talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. The U is on the way back right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.